On this episode of the Paranormal Mind podcast, we are going to be talking about the mysterious death of Caylee Anthony. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Paranormal Mind podcast, season 2.
What's up, everybody?
What did you say?
Welcome to 2024, y'all.
That is one thing for this year that I am not happy about, is we got to do this shit. Like, we're changing up our studio, we're changing up everything else.
But we don't. Oh, you are a bastard. You bitch.
All right. If you couldn't tell, I'm red as fuck right now. But that threw me off so much. No, you talk. I want to hear you do it.
What's up, everybody?
Sounds just. All right, change it.
Change it. All right, so it sounds just as annoying in the other voice. So anyway, this is season 2 of the Paranormal Mind podcast. We really do appreciate y'all more than you know. We're going to be changing things up a little bit as far as I'm going to be talking to you, like talking to the camera a lot more, just because we want to make sure y'all are engaged, because this whole podcast is for all of you. So that's what we're going to be doing. And we're really excited, man. We've got a lot of
so much
really cool things going on for 2024. We're going to be staying busy. So I'm really excited about that.
Me too. Happy to be in our studio.
Yeah.
To start out 24.
See our sign here. I don't know how much of the sign you can see, but it's a searcher's sign that Mandy, your wife, got, that she's here in studio with us.
Hello.
What up, Mandy?
She got the sign made and everything, and I mean it's awesome. It's
crazy, dude.
Really cool. And
Fancy.
it fits the studio well, I believe.
And all around us, we have Michael manning the cameras. We got lights. We got a whole plethora of stuff. There's just a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, man. Like 2024, like what? We're 7 days in, and
we just did a live that was insane.
Yeah, it's gonna be busy. Like, we announced, like, we're starting a new business venture. We announced Lights Out Industries, which is something that Josh had for a long time, but we're kind of joining forces and bringing our production value to all of you who are looking to up your content and all of that. So we're really excited to.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get back into that. When COVID hit, I took a step back from that for a while, mainly because I was doing a lot of weddings, a lot of corporate videos, advertisements.
On top of a full-time job too.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
So getting back into the camera stuff and the video work, this go round, I wanted to do things that were creatively cool, that I felt great about. And like, I get that, making money is making money, but on the other side of that is like, I wanted to prioritize the projects that we did, not just do things because there's money behind it.
Right. Just doing it because you have to.
Because it's soul draining.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It is. But I think with this new venture, we talk to a lot of people that are like, look, we have some good ideas. We have good show ideas, but we just don't know how to execute it. We don't know how to bring it to an audience. And doing the Lights Out project, we're able to lend our creative voice to your project. And actually, we have all of the equipment to be able to film. If you don't have the equipment needed, we have all of that. We have the cameras, the lighting, the audio.
Full production house these days.
We have the full production that you would need to get you going.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. And what's cool about it too is we get to, like I said, lend our voice to it. But, you don't have anybody else telling you how your content is supposed to be. We're just going to be there to make it better.
Yeah.
So it's
consultant, if you would, and then we'll implement what we come up with.
Yep. On top of that, we announced a new show that we're going to be doing.
Yep.
That's going to be free to watch. We don't know exactly where yet. It's probably going to be YouTube and maybe somewhere else. And then a new podcast, which is going to be a produced version of kind of an extension of that new show.
Right. Companion, if you will.
Yeah. So it's going to be like a behind the scenes of our investigations that we do. And we're going to walk you through kind of the behind the scenes of all of it.
About each episode. So that'll be cool.
So I'm excited, man.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to it.
Let's get into this, okay? We're going to be breaking down this wild and heartbreaking story about Caylee Anthony, okay? Which
I'm
is
already
crazy.
angry.
Yeah. So this little 2-year-old girl, Caylee, she's living in Orlando, Florida with her mom, Casey, and her grandparents. It's a sad story. Now, get this. She's last seen on June 16th, 2008, and nobody knows what's up. Then on July 15th, her grandmother makes this frantic 911 call saying that she hasn't been seen for 31 days, which is wild to me.
That's insane.
It's over a month. It's just insane to me, right? So the story gets even crazier. Casey, the mom, she's telling all these different stories about where Caylee is. Then, in a tragic turn on December 11th, 2008, they find Caylee's remains near the family's house, which is super sad.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a shocker too. Like it's right by the house. So all this time it's right by the house.
She's been right there. Yeah.
It's a mystery wrapped in a riddle, and they're calling it unsolved child homicide, but the details are all over the place, right? So here's where the drama intensifies. Casey gets hit with these massive charges. We're talking first-degree murder, child abuse, the whole 9 yards. She goes to court and pleads not guilty. Man, the media is all over this. So it's all over social media.
Oh, I know.
It's all over the news. People are freaking out, trying to figure out the truth.
Right.
What happened? What happened to Caylee? So the verdict behind all of these charges, it's a shocker. Casey's found guilty of giving false info to law enforcement, but for the other charges, not guilty at all.
Makes no sense.
Which is it's frustrating. The whole thing is like a roller coaster of emotions and controversy. This case, man, it's one of those stories that just sticks with you. You know, to me, it's sad, it's infuriating, and it's a reminder of just how crazy the world can be, right?
Yeah.
A little girl's life is gone, and there's so many unanswered questions.
Right.
You know, it's just a tragic, tragic story.
Anytime a child loses a life like that, it's sad.
Yeah. And again, going back to all of it, like she's found right near the house, which is weird, you know?
Makes no sense.
It's weird. Like, oh, they're frantically looking for her. She's found like, you know, not far from the house.
For that long.
And just a few minutes, we're going to talk about like kind of how she was found and all of this stuff. But the reason why I'm talking about this story now is there was I think it was on A&E. I can't remember the network, but her parents were recently given a lie detector test.
You know what? I do remember this. Yeah.
They were given a lie detector test to see if any of their stories didn't add up or whatever, and they both passed.
Really?
The father, you know, the father of Caylee Anthony was accused by Casey of like sexual abuse and all of this stuff. And the test said from the person who administered it said, look, I believe you're being truthful. And, you know, he said, no, I didn't do these things. No, I didn't know about Caylee's disappearance as far as the details surrounding it.
Right.
He passed. And what's even more shocking is Cindy, his wife, the grandmother, passed. And she had some weird stories all throughout this crap too.
My parents were on a cruise with them, like right after Casey's case.
Wait a damn second.
Yeah. They like, obviously they don't know them, but they went, my mom and stepdad cruise all the time. They're like,
that's true. Yeah.
They go on cruises.
Well, here's my question. Why were they on a cruise right after all of this shit
Correct.
happened?
So my
That's
stepdad
true, yeah.
kept looking at my mom and he's like, I know those people. Who are they? And he's thinking it's someone from like our town or where he's worked or something. And she's looking at him and she's like, I don't know. And then she said, it hit me. It was Caylee Anthony's parents. And it was right after her case.
See, like
It's wild. That's strange.
Whether I had grandkids or if it were my kids, right? So just to backtrack a little bit, Casey, the mother, was found like partying after all of this, not long after Caylee was discovered, or
which is a red flag.
While she was missing still. And like if it were one of my kids, there's no way in hell that you'll find me partying or going on a cruise, or even if I needed to get my mind off of all of this stuff, there's no way that I would have done that.
Well,
no
she said she was conducting her own investigation in these clubs and stuff. It's like, really? No,
Come on,
weren't.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure.
Conducting investigation.
Yeah.
Didn't she write like a book about this too? Which
Well, she's in witness protection right now, isn't she? Or she like she's out and like changed her name or something.
I don't know, man. But then you get the flip side of everything, where there's these people that, like, these dudes, of course, like, infatuated with this woman.
Oh, I know,
like,
it's weird.
There's no way that I would want to get in any sort of, even if it was a physical relationship, there's no way I would want to get in a relationship with somebody that even was accused of something like that and kind of, charged with other stuff, but not with her kid's death. But to
some
me,
people are weird, man. I think it's like a fetish, to be honest, because so I worked with this
a weird ass fetish.
Is. I worked with this guy, right? And I'm not going to say who it is, but he would come to work and like he would go to bustamug.com, which is like people's mugshots, right? People that were in prison. And true story, 100% true story.
Do I know this person?
No, you don't. And I'm
damn, I was hoping it was.
No, so he would come in and like show off his girlfriend that he hooked up with in prison. And it's like his bust him up. 100% true story.
Dude, if that's a fetish, that's a weird ass fetish.
Dude, my dad used to, like, my dad's in law enforcement, and he used to say that a lot of times, I mean, this isn't the only reason, it's to use taxpayer money and all of this, but he used to say that a lot of people who like think like it should be an eye for an eye when someone kills someone, like if you shoot somebody in the head, you should die by being shot in the head. He said that like a lot of people, that's what they want. Like they get off on the idea of like, this is how I would die. This is how I would die. And it's weird. Like people's minds are
wild,
weird.
Man.
People are weird.
Yeah, and I thought foot fetishes were weird.
Yeah.
Turns out you can hook up with somebody on bustamug.com. We are not sponsored.
Who thinks of that?
Bustamug.
All right. Let's get back into it. All right, but this is where the Caylee Anthony case gets really intense. Okay. On December 11th, 2008, they find Caylee's remains in a wooded area near her family's house. Okay. Like I said, it was right by, she was found right by the house. It's a grim scene. Her skeletal remains are wrapped in a blanket inside a laundry bag. All right. And here's a creepy detail. They find duct tape near the front of her skull, which is really sad. And you can only speculate on why that was a thing.
Did they try to duct tape her wound up?
Yeah. The medical examiner says it's homicide, but they can't pin down exactly how it happened.
Really?
Right. So the state's going all in. They're pushing for the death penalty for Casey. You remember the case.
Yeah.
So Casey, of course, Caylee's mom. But here's where it gets tricky. All right. The evidence is mostly circumstantial.
Yeah.
The prosecution's theory about the whole thing was they say that Casey wanted to get out of being a mom. So she knocks out her daughter with chloroform, right? And puts duct tape over her nose and mouth. Brutal. But that was their theory on the entire thing. It's really dark, man.
Yeah,
really dark.
It explained as the whole partying thing, right?
Yeah. I guess so.
As a parent, you can't go out and do that.
Yeah, their whole thoughts about it was she wanted to shirk the responsibility, didn't want the responsibility of having a kid.
Right.
But shit, you go to that extreme of
it's insane.
Getting rid of your kid and looking at pictures of Caylee, like such a cute kid.
Yeah.
Like I can't even imagine somebody doing that to anybody or any innocent life like that.
But what if they had black eyes? What if it was a black eyed kid? What if it was a black eyed
children?
Kid?
You got to slow down your speech because I thought you said something completely different. I was like, what are you talking about?
What if it was the black eyed children?
What was?
What if she was a black eyed child?
No, dude.
Would you eat her?
What? Moving on. Holy shit. What a way to start 2024.
What? I mean, I don't know.
Talking about eating babies and that.
Yeet.
Yeet.
Oh, yeet.
Papaw.
Eat them. Come on,
We
man.
got to work on your hearing, man.
And I got headphones.
I know.
Well, dude, you got to slow down because I thought you said eating kids. I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
This
I don't
is the
think I
new
would
all the
wanna eat them.
rage 2024.
Yeah. Yeet. Okay.
Yeet, skirt, yeet, skirt,
Okay,
skirt.
let's move on. All right. So let's get back into it. So, but the defense by this guy, Joe Baez, I think that they're not having that story at all.
Right.
They're calling the prosecution's evidence fantasy forensic.
Oh my gosh.
They spin this other story saying Caylee accidentally drowned in the family pool and that Casey's dad, George, covered it up. Which is
What?
Yeah. Yeah. So this whole trial turns into a media circus and it's completely nuts.
Okay.
Completely nuts. July 5th, 2011, the jury comes back with this bombshell. This is going to blow your mind. They find Casey not guilty of murder and the major charges, but guilty of lying to the cops.
About what?
She gets out of jail pretty quick because she kept changing her story, and we'll talk about that. But she gets out of jail pretty quick because at this time, she's released for time served.
Right.
And then in 2013, a court throws out 2 of those misdemeanors, and it's just I don't know. All of this stuff is just muddled. There's a lot there's a lot of weird things surrounding it. So she kept changing her story, saying that she dropped her kid off at a nanny, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Oh gosh.
And then that changed because the nanny, where she says she dropped the kid off,
Alibi.
the house was vacant for a while. So we'll talk about that. But it's crazy. So like I said, social media is blowing up. Nancy Grace is calling Casey tot. Y'all remember that?
Old Nancy Grace.
Yeah.
Don't mess with her.
Everyone's got an opinion, of course, with social media. When Casey's found not guilty of murder, people are outraged. I mean, it's all over social media, hundreds of thousands of posts. Like, people are not happy about this at all. So let's get into the whole mystery about Caylee Anthony's disappearance, okay?
Right.
Kind of what surrounded it and the story, because it's a wild one. So on June 16th, 2008, Caylee Anthony, she leaves her parents' place in Orlando, Florida.
Okay.
All right. With her daughter, Caylee. So they leave the place. Casey's dad, George, he says he saw them leaving together. He saw Casey and Caylee leaving
All
together.
right.
Casey tells her mom, Cindy, they're going to the nannies. Some lady named Zenaida or Zanny Fernandez Gonzalez. Fernandez hyphen Gonzalez.
So is this a real person?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then off to Tampa for a work trip. It sounds like a normal story, right? But here's where it gets, kind of. But here's where it gets really twisted, okay? Fast forward 30 days, Casey's car is found abandoned in Orlando, all right? They tow it away, and George, the grandfather, he goes to pick it up,
Okay.
all right? He and the tow yard manager, they notice this really gnarly smell coming from the trunk. Yeah. They're thinking it's like decomposing human remains. That's what they liken the smell to.
And so his father or her father says that. Okay.
But when they pop the trunk, it's just a bag of trash.
Oh, okay.
And that same day, Cindy calls 911. The grandmother calls 911, freaking out, saying Casey's car smells like dead bodies, and she hasn't seen Caylee in over a month. But then she backtracks on the smell thing later.
Okay.
Says, okay, maybe it was nothing. Maybe it's just the trash. Crazy. Now the investigation kicks into high gear. Casey tells the cops she left Caylee with the nanny, who then supposedly kidnapped her, all over the place. But when the police check out this nanny's apartment, it's been empty for months.
Were they able to actually track her down?
Yeah, a little bit later. And
Okay.
Casey's story about working at Universal Studios in Florida, she said she was working there, total fabrication. She admits to the cops she hasn't worked there for years, so they arrest her. That's why they arrest her, is because she lied.
She lied,
and
right.
basically said she was working, she wasn't working. It was
So
a
they're like,
complete
what else
lie.
are you lying about?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yep. So Casey's parents on the Today Show still believing Caylee's alive. They're talking on the Today Show. Meanwhile, this meter reader guy, Roy Kronk, y'all remember him. He calls the cops about a suspicious bag in the woods near the Anthony's house.
Okay.
He thought he saw a skull.
Oh, man.
Yeah. The cops check it out, but they don't find anything at first. Then in December, he calls again. And this time, they find Caylee's remains in a trash bag with duct tape hanging from hair attached to the skull. So really grisly.
Puts chills on me.
Stuff I don't really want to talk about, but want to give the details of the case. So Casey gets hit with serious charges, including first-degree murder. The judge is like, no bail for you at all.
Right.
Citing her disregard for her child's welfare.
Right.
She was nonchalant about the entire thing. But then a bail bondsman's nephew posts her $500,000 bond. Yeah. There's this huge crowd outside her house and things are getting intense. She's released again in September on bail. It's just weird. The whole bail bondsman's nephew thing. Again, at this time, there were tons of guys that were all into Casey.
That is wild.
That they thought she was some hot mom or something. But again, like her kid was just found murdered. It was a homicide investigation. They saw it.
Yeah.
They knew that there was questions.
And yet she's lying about all this stuff.
Yeah, they knew all of these circumstances, but these guys didn't care. And I'm assuming this nephew was hot for her or whatever, and
that is insane.
And decided to post her bond. It's super weird. So the grand jury indicts her on charges of murder,
right,
child abuse, manslaughter,
everything they can get their hands on, I'm sure,
and providing false information to police. So she pleads not guilty, and the state's even seeking the death penalty, like we talked about. This whole case becomes a media frenzy. Even more so now, the media is like questioning why was she put on bond, all this stuff. It's one of those stories that you can't believe is real, but it is, and it's tragic.
Right.
A little girl's gone, and there are so many twists and turns in the story. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to talk about the heavyweights in the entire trial and in the courtroom for the Caylee Anthony trial. All right. On the prosecution side, they've got this assistant state attorney, Linda Drain Burdick. Here we go again. Burdick. Leading the charge. Leading the charge, backed up by Frank George and Jeff Ashton. Now, these guys are locked and loaded, ready to go after Caylee for, anything they can get her for, right?
Oh, yeah.
Then you've got the defense team led by Jose Baez, a Florida criminal defense attorney known for his sharp tactics. He's backed by Jay Shaney Mason, Dorothy Sims.
These are a lot of names.
God, I thought that was one whole name.
And no.
God.
These guys are like a legal dream team ready to throw down in the courtroom. All right. Representing Caylee's grandparents, of course, because they needed some representation as well, because there was questions surrounding them. You've got attorney Mark Lipman in the mix too. And the reason why I'm talking about all this stuff is because it's kind of like their names are coming up again on this new series that the grandparents were
gotcha.
Kind of exonerated on all their stuff. All the stories that these people were telling, they're kind of exonerated with. And it's kind of sad because you see the grandfather, like in this series, after they say, okay, we believe you're telling the truth, he breaks down, like sobbing, because I'm guessing for years, these people are saying, hey, you sexually assaulted your own daughter. You helped cover granddaughter. You helped cover up your granddaughter's murder.
Yeah.
And like, you got to think, like, people get death threats for way less things. So you can only imagine kind of like the turmoil that he was going through, because what can you say? You can say, oh no, I didn't do it. But I mean, you know what I mean? It's always out there. Yeah. So I don't know. I had something else I wanted to say about that special. If you haven't seen the special, go check it out.
I haven't. I've seen little bits and pieces of it. And I'm glad that you said something about it, because it's reminding me I need to watch it.
They ask him some really uncomfortable stuff.
Yeah.
Him and his wife, Cindy.
Yeah.
Really, really uncomfortable things. But, they, from the professionals side of things, he says he thinks they're telling the truth, but, it's TV too.
Did you know she stormed off in the middle of the set halfway through?
Who?
Yeah, Cindy.
The mom.
The
really?
Mom. Yeah. But, something strikes me as she's odd. There's something about her. Like, I mean, there's been people that have been guilty that have passed
I was
Lie
going to
detector,
say,
lie detector
she
test.
says, they said, like the production has said that she said, I don't want to make this harder. It's not very much. She wanted him to move his chair. And she said, I'm trying to help him because if he blows all of this, he can go to jail. Lie detector tests aren't admissible in court.
They're not.
So why would you think that
That's showing guilt.
doing a lie
Yeah.
detector test on
Yeah.
A&E is going to send you to jail? That's very telling.
Yeah, it's showing guilt almost like.
But I always find
You
it
have something to
strange
hide.
that, like, if you do have something to hide, when you're going to do this show, you know what you're getting yourself into.
Right. Innocent people would be screaming that they're innocent.
Of course.
Where guilty people, I don't know, guilty people would probably scream that they're innocent too.
Yeah,
I
but
guess this is like
innocent people tend to be screaming in a different way, where
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, ask me anything you want.
Yeah. I don't care which way I'm sitting
Right.
on a couch. I'm still innocent.
I don't care what you say. Yeah.
I'm not going to blow this because there's nothing to blow. I'm innocent.
Right. So when the trial takes off on May 24th, Judge Belvin Perry takes the helm. So Burdick starts painting this picture of how Casey allegedly used chloroform on Caylee, then suffocated her
Okay.
with duct tape. It's grim stuff. But Baez, which is Casey's attorney, he counters hard. He suggests Caylee accidentally drowned in the family pool, and it was all covered up to avoid child neglect charges,
Okay.
which is kind of believable. He even throws in that Casey's behavior was due to abuse she suffered as a child from her father and all that stuff.
Boy.
It's like a high stakes poker game in there.
Right. Yeah.
It's all over the place. So the evidence presented is wild as well.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You've got family members denying smelling the smells that they were smelling, the decomposition in Casey's car.
Right.
But then others saying that they did smell it. There's this whole thing about a chloroform search on the family computer. Yeah. And even debates about whether duct tape that was found with Caylee's remains was placed before or after her death.
Interesting.
Yep. So the prosecution brings in experts showing animations of Caylee's skull with the duct tape.
Okay.
Again, I couldn't sit in
couldn't.
there
Nope.
at all. While the defense counters with their own forensic pathologists. And it gets really in depth on
Right.
all of this stuff. At
Okay.
one point, a volunteer claims she had an affair with George Anthony, the grandfather, and that he called Caylee's death an accident that snowballed out of control.
Okay.
But again, it could be anybody saying anything. Every day there's a new twist.
Right.
So after both sides present their case, so of course we talked about they find her guilty of lying to police, but not guilty of the other charges.
I think that's strange in itself. Is like, she knows something. Why else lie?
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to talk about this again because of that special that was
Right.
going on. And there's not many other details of the story other than Casey, she's free now.
Right.
And Mandy, I don't know if she's in witness protection or not. I would
don't-
assume so.
I can't find anything that she is, but I thought that I had heard that she was in some sort of something.
Yeah.
But she's giving interviews and like writing books and stuff.
Yeah,
So obviously
getting book
I guess she's
Honestly,
not.
I'd be surprised if she was in witness protection because
Maybe there was a thought that she might go into witness protection because I vividly remember something about it with her.
I think she's really been like, I don't know, embellishing this stuff and enjoying it too.
Yeah, it's just sad all the way around. Like I said, I mean, I've got kids. There's no way
Right.
I can even fathom any of that. And there's no way that you'll catch me partying somewhere
No.
while the case is ongoing. I mean, there's no way,
I can't.
There's some sick people out there, man. There's some really, really crazy people out there.
It's an absolute failure of our justice system. It's one of those situations where somebody messed up somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you have all of these questions, there's more that you need to dive into.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But anyway, that is our episode of the death of Caylee Anthony. A
There's
sad
one good thing that came from it. I mean, there's nothing good that can come from a 2-year-old dying, but there is Caylee's Law now.
That's right.
True.
It makes
That
it
is
a
true.
felony to not report the missing, like a child being missing for 30 days. You
That
can't
is
do
true.
that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That is the thing. That's one thing that I did cut short was the law that came from this. It's
Yeah.
kind of a blessing through all
Silver
of this.
lining, I
Right.
guess.
Yeah. But, thankfully that something good came out of it.
Right.
Because now you have the mother running free, doing whatever
Right.
she wants to do.
Right.
Of course, we can't say for sure she's guilty or not, but all of the details just don't add up.
No.
There's so many things.
She's guilty of something.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only
And
explanation.
why would you lie to police to begin with if you
Exactly.
didn't have anything
Right.
to hide?
And,
Right.
and in the ways that
About
she
something
did.
so
Yeah.
weird, like
Yeah.
your job.
Right.
And where you took her. And
Yeah,
these
your
things.
alibi,
Yeah.
basically.
Right.
Like, hey, I'm
That
changing
made
up.
guilty immediately, no
Yeah.
matter what.
But again, thank y'all so much for listening to the podcast. This is our first one back in
Yeah,
2024.
Season 2.
Season 2. We really appreciate y'all. Thank you for listening. And until the next episode, we'll talk to y'all later.
See ya.